Hey man, men are walking away. Not because they hate women, not because they've given up on love, but because they've finally recognized the pattern. The endless games, the constant contradictions, the shifting rules that leave them drained and broken. For years, men were told to give more, to prove more, to bend more, as if their love was a currency that needed constant spending. And what did it bring them? Betrayal, disrespect, abandonment. The moment they slipped or struggled, men are done because they finally see the truth. No matter how much you give, the games never stop. And the strongest move isn't to play harder, it's to stop playing altogether. The modern dating landscape has become a circus of illusions. Women swipe endlessly, keep backup options, flirt with attention while promising loyalty, and test men with contradictions designed to exhaust them. They say they want stability, but chase chaos. They say they want love, but seek validation. They say they want commitment, but never stop looking for something better. And men are waking up to the scam. They're realizing they were never partners in these games. They were pawns, and pawns always lose, because the rules are written to favor the player, not the played. That's why men are done. They'd rather stand alone in truth than drown in lies. Men are exhausted from being told to understand what cannot be understood. Women shift their truths daily, driven by emotion, not consistency. One day she's all in, the next she's distant. One day she loves you, the next she's cold. And men, desperate to hold on, break their backs trying to decode her contradictions. But you can't make sense of nonsense. You can't anchor yourself in feelings that change with the wind. And men are realizing this. They're no longer wasting their sanity trying to chase emotional stability in a world where it doesn't exist. Instead, they're pulling back, reclaiming their energy, and living on their own terms. Every man eventually learns this truth, the hard way. Women don't love men for who they are, but for how they make them feel, and feelings are fleeting. You can work hard, provide, protect, build, and still be discarded the moment her emotions shift. For decades, men ignored this reality, convinced that if they just worked harder, loved deeper, sacrificed more, they could win loyalty. But loyalty rooted in feelings isn't loyalty at all, it's convenience. And men are finally done being convenient. They're done being treated as emotional crutches, financial safety nets, or backup options when her illusions collapse. They're choosing peace over performance. This is not bitterness, it's clarity. Men aren't walking away because they can't handle women. They're walking away because they've realized the cost of playing games that cannot be won. They've realized that investing in illusions leaves them broken, while investing in themselves makes them whole. They've realized that peace, freedom, and purpose feel better than validation from a woman who will never be satisfied. And that's why men are done, not with women, but with the games. Because real love doesn't come from chasing butterflies, feeding chaos, or proving worth every second. Real love comes when a woman abandons the games too. Until then, men are saying no more. The reason men are done is because they finally see how the game is rigged. Women dangle affection like bait, offering just enough warmth to keep you invested, while withholding consistency to keep you chasing. They feed you crumbs of validation, smiles, compliments, moments of intimacy, only to pull away and watch you scramble. It's not always conscious manipulation, often it's instinct. But the result is the same. Men exhaust themselves trying to win a prize that was never meant to be given freely. And when men realize this pattern, when they see that their energy is being drained for entertainment rather than respect, they stop playing, because no man with self-worth will keep performing in a rigged show. Men are also waking up to the reality of constant testing. Women test to see if you'll break, if you'll chase, if you'll bend. And at first, men think these tests are challenges to win, believing that if they pass enough of them, she'll finally stop. But here's the hard truth. She never stops. The moment you pass one test, another appears. The moment you prove yourself in one way, she finds a new weakness to probe. And men are exhausted. They're realizing they weren't meant to live in endless trial. They were meant to build, to lead, to conquer their own missions, not to constantly prove their worth to someone who changes the rules mid-game. Modern culture has made the games even more toxic. Social media feeds women constant attention, constant options, constant comparisons. A woman doesn't just have her reality, she has 10,000 illusions on her screen every day. Perfect men, perfect lives, perfect relationships. And instead of grounding herself in truth, she chases those fantasies. She compares the real man in front of her to illusions that don't exist. And when he doesn't measure up, she withdraws, complains, or cheats. Men see this. they're realizing they can't compete with a fantasy fed by likes and filters, and so instead of playing harder, they're walking away from the arena altogether. Men are tired of the double standards. They're told to be strong but sensitive, ambitious but available, dominant but submissive, confident but humble. Every demand contradicts the other, creating a game where no man can ever truly win. And while men once broke themselves trying to meet these impossible expectations, today they're saying no more. They're rejecting the contradictions. They're choosing to be men on their own terms, instead of shrinking into versions of themselves designed to please women who will never be satisfied anyway. That's not weakness, it's strength. Because real strength isn't in conforming to shifting rules, it's in refusing to play by them at all. The final reason men are done is because they've tasted peace. They've experienced what life feels like when they're not constantly performing for female approval. They've found joy in building their bodies, their wealth, their purpose. They've discovered freedom in solitude, in brotherhood, in chasing goals that actually give back. And once a man experiences that kind of peace, he no longer wants the chaos of games. Because peace is addictive, it's healing, it's empowering, and no fleeting validation, no temporary affection, no false promises of loyalty can compete with the stability of a man who has built himself. That's why men are done. They've found something better. When men stop playing, the power dynamic flips instantly. For years, women have relied on the predictability of male desperation. They knew you'd text back even after being ignored. They knew you'd chase even after being disrespected. They knew you'd fight for a place in their world no matter how poorly they treated you. But now men are breaking the pattern. Men are going silent. They're no longer chasing after mixed signals, no longer entertaining half effort, no longer tolerating disrespect disguised as tests. And when the chasing stops, women are left in a state of shock because the entire system of manipulation collapses without male participation. She suddenly realizes that attention isn't guaranteed anymore. And when attention isn't guaranteed, the games lose all their power. Walking away is not just an escape, it's a revelation. When a man stops playing games, he finally sees how much energy he wasted on illusions. He realizes that the countless hours spent worrying about her texts, analyzing her words, and adjusting his behavior to keep her happy could have been spent building himself. He could have been stacking money, strengthening his body, deepening his discipline. And when he redirects that energy, his life transforms. He stops chasing dopamine hits from her attention and starts getting real fulfillment from progress. And ironically, that transformation is what makes women notice him more. Because while most men stay trapped in the hamster wheel of validation, the man who escapes it shines like a diamond in a pile of glass. Men are also waking up to the reality that women's games aren't about love. They're about control. Every pullback, every test, every contradiction is a way of establishing dominance in the emotional space. Women want to see if they can move you, bend you, break you, because it tells them how much power they hold. But men are no longer giving that power away. They've learned that real control comes from silence, from discipline, from choosing not to engage, because when you refuse to react to her games, you strip them of their purpose. They no longer control you, they expose her. And once exposed, the games look childish, petty, and small. That's why walking away is the greatest checkmate a man can play. Here's the irony that women never expect. When men stop playing, women actually feel more attraction. Because deep down, no woman respects the man she can control. She may enjoy the attention, she may enjoy the chase, she may enjoy the validation, but she doesn't respect it. Respect only comes when she sees a man stand firm against her attempts to pull him off balance. And when men refuse to play, when they calmly step back and say, "I don't participate in nonsense," women feel something they haven't felt in a long time. Respect. That respect may not always turn into love, but it always changes the way she sees you. Because the man who doesn't play is rare, and rarity is valuable. Men are done because they've realized their time is precious. Life is short, and every second wasted on games is a second stolen from greatness. Chasing mixed signals won't build your body. Begging for attention won't grow your business. Arguing over contradictions won't expand your vision, and men are finally waking up to this truth. They're done pouring their energy into women who see them as entertainment. They're done playing endless emotional tug-of-war. They're done proving themselves to someone who keeps moving the finish line. Instead, they're building empires, pursuing passions, and creating lives so full of purpose that no woman's game can distract them. That's not bitterness, that's evolution. Men are no longer begging to be chosen, they're choosing themselves. When men step away from women's games, it creates a void women never expected. For years, women assumed male attention was infinite, that no matter how much they tested, pulled back or manipulated, men would always be there. But as men walk away, that pool of endless validation starts drying up. Suddenly, she posts that picture on social media and gets fewer responses. Suddenly, she plays the ignore him and he'll chase game, but no one chases. Suddenly, she realizes her tricks don't work on men who value themselves, and when that happens, panic sets in. Because the game only has power if men keep playing. Without players, the game dies. Women also begin to feel the weight of their choices once men stop engaging. When every man used to compete for her, she could discard good men for illusions, but when men stop competing, she has to sit with the reality of her actions. She realizes that she pushed away loyal men for temporary thrills. She realizes that the better option she chased was an illusion that vanished as quickly as it appeared. She realizes that all her games left her lonelier, not stronger. And by then, the men she tested are gone, building their lives, thriving without her, too far ahead to look back. That's the cost of the game, brother. It doesn't break men, it backfires on women. What women are slowly learning is that respect is not negotiable. You cannot build a lasting relationship on tests, contradictions, and manipulation. And as men walk away, women are being forced to confront this. They're realizing that the men who once tolerated their games are gone, and the only ones left are the weak, the desperate, the easily controlled. And while those men may entertain her for a time, she cannot respect them. Because deep down, no woman wants to lead. No woman wants to be with a man. She can bend at will. She may play games to test you, but when you refuse to play, that's when she feels the respect she truly craves. The beauty of men walking away is that it recenters the balance of power. For too long, women have operated as if they were the prize, holding all the cards. But men are realizing they are the prize. They are the builders, the protectors, the providers, the ones who carry the weight of society on their backs. Without men, there is no civilization, no structure, no progress. And when men remember this, the spell of women's games is broken. Because you cannot be manipulated by someone you no longer pedestalize. And once you see yourself as the prize, you stop playing the fool. You start demanding respect, or you walk. Men are done playing games because they've discovered something women never expected. Freedom feels better than validation. A man who isn't shackled to mixed signals, who isn't enslaved to approval, who isn't caught up in endless proving games, is a man who moves differently. He's calmer, he's more focused, he radiates strength. And ironically, that freedom makes him more attractive than any chasing ever could. Women sense it. They see a man who cannot be controlled, a man who cannot be moved, a man who doesn't dance to the tune of games. And whether she admits it or not, every woman is drawn to that man. Because he doesn't play, he leads. The day a man decides to stop playing women's games is the day his life begins. Because suddenly his mind is no longer consumed with chasing texts, decoding mixed signals, or wondering where he stands. His energy is redirected back into himself, into his body, his mission, his future. And when that happens, he becomes unstoppable. He starts stacking money instead of stacking apologies. He builds discipline instead of building excuses. He creates a life that's unshakable. And when women see that kind of man, they realize the games no longer work. Because you can't manipulate a man who isn't playing for your approval. He's playing for his destiny. Men are also waking up to the fact that walking away doesn't mean loneliness, it means clarity. For too long, men have been told that life without a woman is incomplete, that their worth is measured by whether or not they're chosen. But men are realizing that's the biggest lie of all. A man without a woman is not incomplete, he's free. He's free to create, free to focus, free to build his kingdom without distraction. And when he does choose a woman, he chooses from strength, not desperation. He chooses the one who respects him, not the one who toys with him. That shift alone destroys the foundation of women's games, because men no longer need to play. The truth is that women's games were never about love, they were about power. Power over your emotions, power over your time, power over your choices. And for years, men handed that power over willingly, because they didn't know they had another option, but now they do. Men are realizing they hold the power all along, the power to walk away. And when you walk away, you take every ounce of leverage with you. Because what is a game without players? What is manipulation without response? What is testing without resistance? It collapses. And when it collapses, the only thing left standing is the man who refused to bow. This awakening isn't just personal, it's cultural. More and more men are banding together, rejecting the narratives that told them to keep playing, to keep sacrificing, to keep giving everything while receiving nothing. They're speaking truth, they're exposing illusions, they're demanding respect, and while some call it bitterness, it's actually clarity, because men are no longer willing to be pawns in a game that was never meant for them. They're choosing sovereignty over slavery, purpose over pandering, strength over submission, and once a man tastes that clarity, there's no going back. He's done. Not with women, but with the games. So hear me, brother. Men are done playing women's games. They're done begging for attention. They're done proving themselves in endless trials. They're done confusing manipulation for love. Instead, they're building their own worlds. Worlds of discipline, purpose, and truth. And here's the final irony. The moment men stop playing, women start chasing. Because deep down, even women know the truth. They don't want the men they can control. They want the men who refuse to be controlled. And when men live this way, they never lose, because you cannot lose a game you refuse to play. And that, brother, is the ultimate victory.